Hi, welcome to my quilting beehive. I'm here with the next part of our Colchester Mill Marvelous Mystery Quilt. Today we have put our Tree of Life block on point to make a very large block. It's going to finish at 36.5 inches. And I'm going to show you how to trim it to make it perfectly square so you'll have a nice even block. The triangles we cut were a little larger than we needed, making the block a little larger to make up if when you pieced your center it was a little too small, we can make it all perfect so it will fit into the quilt today. In order to do this, you're going to need to find a big table to work on, or you can work on the floor with a couple of large mats. If your mat isn't large enough, you can just do a part at a time. It will work out. You are going to need a 12.5 inch square ruler, and you're going to need one of your 6 by 24 inch rulers, or similar, if you don't have these exact rulers, something about that size. A larger square will also work. So whichever you have, take the pieces. I'm showing it with the 12 and the 6. This is a 12.5 inch ruler. 12.5 plus 6 makes 18.5. We want our block to be 36.5, so this is going to work out nicely because half of 36.5 is 18.25. A little bit of math there. So 18.25, I can line up my ruler so zoom right in here and we'll get a good look at it. I'm leaving 1/4 inch because I have a 1/4 inch extra, and I'm putting that on the center point. I'm actually going to come up here. My center point of my quilt is where the tree trunk matches. So I have a 1/4 inch in, and I'm making sure it's straight by making a 1/4 inch in on the next square. So I'm lining that up right there, and I'm making sure my pieces are where they need to be. If I abut a 6 inch ruler up against that, 6 plus 12 and 1/4 will give me half of the quilt. That gives me 18.25, half of the quilt. So I know that the part I need to trim off is going to be what's beyond this edge. If I keep my square in place, I can slide my 6 inch ruler, just keep it up against here tight, and I can slide it up to the top and slide it down to the bottom to do my cutting. I'm going to come around here. So 12.5, and I moved in 1/4 inch to give it 18.25. So that's 12 and 1/4, 13.25, 14.25, 15.25, 16.25, 17.25, 18.25. Always double check your math because you don't want to cut off more. You're only going to be cutting off a little bit. The most you should cut off is about 1/2 inch. It shouldn't be any more than that, depending on how you sewed and how your pieces are. All right, I'm going to hold my ruler tight, and I'm going to cut right along there, and that first part comes off. Keeping my 12 inch square centered, I'm going to slide this down here. And I run out of mat right here, so I'll have to shift it after, but I can cut all the way to where my mat ends, starting right here. And then I'm going to carefully shift my quilt up so I can get that bottom edge, get it back on my mat. I'm going to make sure my square ruler didn't move. Put this one back here. And I'll just finish trimming off that little bit. Just like that. Okay, once you have that side done, you can move across to the other side of your quilt. I'm going to slide it over exactly the same way, but this time I'm going to do it on this side. So I'm still going to put a 1/4 inch on the center mark. So it's a 1/4 inch right where the center of the tree is. The center points all the way up right there. And then I can put my square rectangular ruler on here. And if you want to double check yourself to make sure you're right, it's always good when you're cutting, before you cut, to make it right. You can come over here with a long ruler and you'll see it's at 36.5 inches. So you know it's going to be just right. The center point is at 18.25. And it's 36.5 inches across to there. So triple check, double check. Be careful when you're cutting. Use your rulers. Make sure they don't slip and slide. Move your hands. Keep your hand near your cutter. And I'm going to slide my long ruler down. I'm holding my square ruler tight so it doesn't move. Slide that ruler down. And I can finish that cut down there. I'm going to shift my quilt so I can finish the top side now. There's always a little bit of math involved when you're trimming and cutting, and you have to add together the size of your rulers. Take your time, do the math. I'm going to make sure it's still exactly in place after shifting it 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch at the center point of my quilt. And then I can put my long ruler back here. It still lines up with where I already cut, and I can just shift it down. And there you go. And that's the piece I cut off. You're going to turn the quilt and do the same thing for the top and the bottom. So my top edge of my quilt is right here. I am going to line up 1/4 inch right there at that dot at the point, the center point of my quilt. If I come across here, it should be still 1/4 inch. Make sure the ruler's straight all the way across. And then when I put my 6-inch ruler down, it will be 18 inches from that center point, 18 1/4 inches up to here. And that's half the distance of the quilt, and I can just slide this to cut off the top corner. When you're on the last two sides, your ruler should be square, and you'll know if you have it right. I can take I'm taking my 1-inch line here, and it's going to line up with that fabric very nicely. And it's still abutted against that ruler, so I know the top edge will be square and straight, and I'll have a perfect block. So I'm going to hold that down. Got a long reach here. I happen to have 2 mats side by side on my table, and sometimes right where that seam is, I have to go back and hit it because there's a little notch where it doesn't cut because the 2 mats are right next to each other. There you go. Where the seam is on my mats. And I see I just hit my ruler when I was moving it over, so I'm going to come back in here, put my 1/4 inch mark back in place. And make sure it's still lined up. And down on this end, it will also line up nice and square with the edge of my fabric. And that way I know it's all going to be straight. And you'll cut that one. So take your time, measure twice, measure 3 times, measure 4 times if you have to. So important to keep everything lined up. So now I have to do the last edge down at the bottom. Side to side is already 36.5 inches wide. Now I want my top to bottom to be 36.5 inches wide. So now I'm going to put my 1/4 inch line right here. And you can shift it over. So it goes from this side right through the center of the quilt and right there. And then I'll bring my ruler down to the bottom. And again, just to double check, make sure before you cut anything, you don't want to cut it too small. Take out your tape measure and measure right across from where you're going to cut on the ruler to the edge of the quilt should be 36.5 inches. And mine is, and you can check over here, make sure it's square, 36.5 inches across the quilt before I cut. The most important thing is not to cut before you're sure. Double check, triple check. Did I say that already? That's the most important thing, taking your time to cut. I'm just going to come around here to cut my last side. And I'm holding my ruler secure, moving my hand as I go. Slide it down to the beginning. Just like the other one, it should line right up with the edge of your fabric to keep it nice and square. And there we go. And then just slide it back around. Keep that first square straight, make sure it doesn't shift, and cut your last piece. And that's where my 2 mats joined right there. And then when you've done, you've got a perfect 36.5 inch triangle, and that will make sure it will fit into the quilt where it belongs in our next step. I hope you found this helpful to help you square up your quilt. Take your time. Measuring is so important. Take your time, triple check, quadruple check, It's so important. If you cut it off, you're going to have to waste fabric and buy more to get it all right. If you have a major problem and you do need to add more fabric, you can add more fabric by cutting some strips of your background fabric and piecing them in. But it'd be a lot easier not to have to do that. So if you have any questions or having any problems, go into our Facebook group and post your questions there. Let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can with some advice and help to get you through it. There'll be one more video this month coming up soon with the applique pieces.